Yeah, so I think it's always good to have this mic because when you have interviews, meeting, they sound much, you sound like, hi, my name is Optimus Prime. It sounds very nice in terms of like,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you like, I think it also sounds good when you have headphones.
yeah,
So I don't know. I just found my voice much better sounding when I have this filter versus when I'm like without the filter. So
yeah.
that's
If I
my
get
take.
invited more, I might invest in it.
They, there's actually I forgot this guy, Lenny's podcast. He actually
Yeah.
recommended this one camera, which actually has studio audio and studio video quality,
Mhm.
which is I find it super cool. But I didn't buy that. I have this webcam by Logitech. Sounds very old when I say webcam, but that's what they call it. And it
Yeah,
has 4K. I have lighting here. I have this. Keeps it easy.
yeah, it does make a difference for sure. You
It's
look
not.
much handsomer.
Jeez, man. Oh, so no, this is a good cold start. Is it raining where you are right now or no?
It is actually. It's a rainy day. So it looks
Hmm.
dull on the outside a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's a beautiful
nice.
morning either way.
Cool. Well, that beautiful day, let's introduce you.
Yeah, sure.
We have here today John Robbins. We know each other for a very long time. How long? I don't know. It's more, I'll say more than
Yes.
5 years,
Yeah.
2010, right?
5 to 6, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, that hit hard. He is actually director and head of AI at right now. Let me just make sure I got it right. Yes, director, head of AI and data and industrial business at Capgemini Invent. Um, the reason I wanted to have him is because he has a good swing of everything. He was a PM, he was a COO, he has done many different things, product development, and now he's working with different businesses where we will dive more with him. Um, that was my introduction, but John, I know you probably have a better introduction about yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so over
You,
to you.
you you have summed it well. Maybe I will unpack it a little bit. Um, so I have a multidimensional career background. Worked for many different kinds of organizations, but there are some common threads that you know run around all these different paths that I took. So I have worked for large companies as well as startups. So as you mentioned, I was leading product management at a consumer electronics company, working on connected navigation products. Um, and I was also the chief operating officer of a startup in the industrial IoT space. So as you can see, for more than a decade, I've been working in connected data-driven products across different verticals, consumer, health tech, and industrial. And yeah, the other experience I have is I also worked for a European organization whose mission was to accelerate innovation in Europe. So had the privilege of working with, again, large companies and startups with a specific focus on advancing innovation in Europe. So was part of a lot of open innovation activities as well. So I bring together all these different experiences. The common theme, of course, is new product development, innovation, both with large and small companies. Right now, I'm working for a consultancy, Capgemini. We are one of the largest consultancies in the world, rated as number one when it comes to AI services. And we work with ambitious clients to build novel products. So oftentimes our clients might come with a specific pain point or a problem statement, or they might have a product idea. So it could be at different stages. Sometimes they don't have a product idea, they just know there's a problem, they're looking for some advice, or sometimes they come with a product idea and they need someone to help them bring it to reality. And so I have the privilege of working with ambitious clients and bringing some of those concepts to the market, all the way from ideation to system architecture to early prototyping to making it ready for scale. So yeah, that's kind of the role I play right now, and super excited to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, this is super cool because I want to dive into the first thing. which is about the AI aspect. And then I want to have the most candid conversation about it, meaning
Yeah,
real life applications, right? And you are in a space where you're consulting different companies
yeah,
from different categories of, sectors or whatever you want to call it. What have you seen a someone who has been doing it for I think past almost 3 years now, right?
yeah,
Or 2 years, or, I don't know, but it's more than at least a year. So you have been there
yeah,
with the wave, you've been seeing that consulting different companies. What is that you've been seeing where AI has been starting to getting more integrated in
yeah,
real life applications? Is that in some kind of data connectivity? Is it, the IoT systems? Where are
yeah.
we seeing the trend from your perspective?
Yeah. So Um, before I respond that question, I have to clarify that I'm working, AI is such a big field, right? I don't have visibility on every dimension of AI. The space that I'm working in is it's called by different names. Artificial intelligence of things, meaning that connected products that have an AI layer. Um, Sometimes called edge AI. It's more like a architecture where all the data is being processed, where the data is being collected
Hmm.
instead of sending it to the cloud. And the new emerging theme is called physical AI. People like Jensen Huang have been betting that the future is physical AI, meaning that physical systems that
Mm,
fuse with AI. So that's the space that I'm in. So my comments will be more towards those kind of applications. Of
yeah.
course, there is, all kinds of other enterprise AI applications as well. That's not my personal focus area. But so in terms of like physical AI or edge AI, there are like many different applications. I can maybe tease out a few markets or sectors. One of them is consumer or connected spaces, we call it, where you can use AI to enhance customer experiences. So the goal is not so much productivity or efficiency, it's enhancing consumer experiences.
Hmm.
Um, Think about like the simplest example that a lot of people can relate to is like an Apple Watch. People don't realize that there is a lot of AI running on an
Yeah.
Apple Watch, right? So any kind of wearable that is actually like collecting health biomarkers, enabling you to take more control of your health, uh, instead of waiting to go to a doctor's office to get information and test results. There are a lot of new devices and applications that are able to collect information about your health, give confidence and that power into the hands of the consumer space where productivity is the key, making things faster, having better quality. And example of that is like using computer vision, for example, where the machine is seeing instead of human being seeing, enabled by AI, for anomaly detection. In a
Hmm.
manufacturing setting, you manufacture something, you have certain specifications, certain quality criteria, and your computer vision can, benchmark against those expectations and flag and alert you or the, employees if there's some anomaly. So that's the other example. These are just like I'm sharing two examples, but there are like so many different examples, and we can dig deeper into that as we talk more about it. Yeah.
This is actually what I wanted because what I've been seeing, and this is from, I guess I'm on the opposite side, right? So, which is more startups, more companies, the Fangs of the world or M7 of the world, and everybody is embedding AI. Let's take LinkedIn for an example. I
Yeah.
bash them too much. I hope they don't shadow ban me. But the thing is, they're using AI. I think it's GPT, of course, it's Microsoft, and they're like, "Hey, we will rewrite your AI." That's a very lower level of AI enabled integrations, such as rewriting your user post. Am I suitable for this job? Or let me send the
Mm,
organic fake comment. Hey, congrats. And I'm like, geez, sounds like a perfect NPC. And so,
yeah.
but then there are companies like it's Microsoft still, but they're using AI in distinct levels, like AI computing in terms
Hmm.
of they re launch their own PC. which is AI enabled. Then you have Apples of the world. Then you have Tesla, right? People don't talk about
hmm
this AI, but this full self-driving is
hmm
actually AI enabled. Like that's how it works. And so I want to understand more from that side, real life applications where
Yeah.
it's not that even you mentioned that your Apple Watch also has AI in it. So if we go deeper into that, over the past 2 years, where have you been seeing in a particular sector where investments have been like, you know, doubling, tripling down, even from your customer side or the conversations that you have been? And is there
Yeah.
any kind of I don't want to say backlash, but kind of like backlash around AI? Because you did mention they're not talking about efficiency, they're talking about enhancing customer experience. But yeah,
Yeah.
just to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think to respond, there are a lot of you have shared a lot of comments, and I'm trying to distill all my thoughts. So, first of all, I think that a lot of the FANGs, or companies that are considered tech companies, most of their products are driven by social engagement, the network
Hmm.
effect, right? And so, most of them are using AI to enhance user engagement,
Hmm.
making sure that you're using more of their platform, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or any of those platforms. Just throwing out some examples here. Um, where I'm more involved in is where a client is really trying to solve a problem. So for us, like the starting point is what is the problem statement? What is it that
Hmm.
you're trying to solve? And how is technology going to make a huge difference positively in either advancing people's lives or making our world a better place to live?
Hmm.
So all these examples that I'm sharing with you are from that angle. So we are not looking at it just from a technology standpoint. We're not a product company. We're not trying to sell a product. We're
Hmm.
trying to help companies to build products that will make lives richer and easier and better for many people. So with that context, the second thing I want to say that when you think about where are like investors putting their money, where are companies investing their money, people are investing in many different categories, and I
Hmm.
feel that investors particularly are becoming more and more specialized. They're not like generalists who will just invest in everything. So depending on who you talk to, you might get a different take on where the market is headed. But from my angle, looking at many different types of clients and working in many different sectors versus just one specific product, I think that where I'm seeing the most traction is number one in health tech.
Hmm.
I feel that that field is just so huge, all the way from using Gen AI for drug discovery to, as I shared earlier, monitoring biomarkers to predict
Yeah.
not just on their health activities. Like this is where we are right now. Like if I do yoga, if I go for running, I can get stats of what I did, but something beyond that, where you can take this data to predict outcomes.
Hmm.
That hey, this is where you're headed, and so I can take some preventative measures. Is where I believe that health tech is headed. Or another example I know is that I was hearing someone else share that they were using computer vision to understand congestion in your nasal areas, and so like sometimes like AI and computer vision can do things better than what humans can do or the human eye can do, and so health tech is certainly like one area that I'm seeing a lot of advancements in. Um, the second area that I'm seeing advancement in is a technology rather than a vertical is AI-powered robotic systems. And I'll explain why that is the case. A lot of investors were investing in autonomous vehicles in the past,
Hmm.
and we went through that hype cycle, and I'm super thrilled. There are like autonomous vehicles on the road now, but the return of investment was slower than they had anticipated. So a lot of investors, as well as startup founders and engineers, started pivoting a little bit, and most of them pivoted towards robotics because there's a lot of overlap between robotics and autonomous vehicles because like, both are physical systems and use some of the overlapping technologies. And so robotics is the next space that I believe I'm seeing a lot of growth in. And all kinds of application, robotics for enhancing efficiency in manufacturing settings, but robotics has been used in manufacturing for a long, long time. But I think that robotics will now come into the consumer space of how can it work alongside human beings, both in
Hmm.
our homes, in our workplaces as well, to make our lives a little bit more easier. So I believe that robotics is another AI-powered application that has a lot of potential, and I think a lot of people are starting to put energy into it.
I do like the part that you, I think the health tech has really overripe, or whatever is the right word. Like, it can genuinely have a better system when it comes to taking care of people, whether it's, and it can start with chronic illness, right? Like if you think from doctor. So there's this one company, John, that I'm
Yeah.
trying to help. He was actually the first guest on my show.
Okay.
And he's running a private equity. It's called Complete Vision Group, and they're acquiring different practices to build a complete patient care experience for chronic eye diseases.
Hmm.
And I'm helping them, and the guy's like, I want you to leverage the best of design and the best of AI to make it as less frictionless possible for
Hmm.
user, whether it's onboarding or scheduling or following up with doctors. I'm helping with him on that part. And one of the interesting thing is the bar in healthcare is so damn low. It's like you see apps like Kaiser, you see apps like One Medical is pretty decent, so I'm not gonna put them in. But you have Kaiser, you have other, healthcare, Aetna, and you have insurance claiming, seeing the doctors. It's terrible. So I do agree, like I think that's one. And the other part is like for doctors to use as well for health.
Hmm.
I was seeing Google made a discovery about I think some gene therapy or something around tumor that
Hmm.
they leverage Gen AI to understand, oh, this person will possibly have tumor and there's a high probability you may want to treat it now. Right.
Yeah.
So I do, and am I saying this, well, like I'm echoing this because I do agree with what you're saying. And I
Hmm.
want like also add examples like that's the trend that's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But go
Just
ahead.
to
Sorry, go
clarify,
ahead.
what do you mean when you say that the bar is low in health tech?
When I say the bar is low is from the perspective of the patient care experience. So let's say I'm not some guy, Devin, is sick
Hmm.
and he's like, hey, I want to go to a doctor. Now he has to check with his insurance. Then he has to go contact that doctor. Then he has to fill these terrible forms. Then he has to schedule an appointment. Apparently, his doctor that he had is not anymore in, what do you call, I'm forgetting the word. It's like inbound, outbound, whatever it's called, right? And now you have to look for another doctor. It's so fragmented in terms of the patient care experience aspect,
Hmm.
unless if you're one medical. One medical has their records, it's one ecosystem, but it's very tight, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In that sector. So that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
from the patient care experience, from the patient side, the bar is
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
low.
Yeah. Yeah. In the sense that there's certainly a lot of opportunities there because
Yeah.
the systems are all kind of siloed, and there is a lot of opportunities to have a more integrated system that
Yeah.
enhances customer experience. I just wanted to say that the bar is actually high in the health tech space, and the reason for that
Oh.
is there are a lot of regulations in health tech. So when you build a product, you have to have a lot of regulations that you have to comply with. And so it's not that easy actually to build products in the health tech space. There's another layer that is not like a social media platform or something
Hmm.
like that. You have to get certified and stuff like that. So
No,
depending
that's
on the
true.
product type and the criticality of you know what is it collecting and what is it throwing, or what is the information that it is sharing. So, but yes, that's something to be mindful of in the health tech space.
No, that's true. When I actually say like bar is low, I'm thinking of like the experience because you mentioned the customer experience. So like, of course, like you need to be HIPAA compliant. And there's like 10 million
Yeah,
what do you call, well, gated walls that you have to cross through to a
sure.
checkpoint. But what I mean is like the bar is low in terms of how AI can really improve their
Yeah,
experiences.
yeah,
So
sure.
from that, but I do, yes, it is a high bar from that perspective of building a new product. But you mentioned something, physical AI,
Yeah.
and you probably saw Optimus, right? You and my sister's like, "Hey man, if I can get it, I don't need a maid in my life. It's cheap as
Yeah,
I'm like, great, that works. I'm not sure if that's I guess that's the aim of that. When
yeah,
you mention robotics,
yeah.
here's my thought, and I'm going very far, John, so you can bring me back if you feel like Imran, you're just going too far.
Yeah.
Um, I think the space that hasn't been really, or maybe I'm wrong, I haven't seen it, is robotics when it comes to children's toys. So hear me out. You know how back in the day, so I'm originally from Pakistan, right? So India's pretty much safe. So, we had those dogs,
Mm.
and back in the day, there was this one electric or robotic dog that you pet, it would sit down in something. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what if these toys have small language models? Now they can communicate with you. Now these toys are freaking alive, right? So now I'm seeing some nice toys, which are like Optimus Prime. You press a button, you tell them voice command, but it's only one voice command and it does stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it's very crazy where I'm going with this. Do you think that is an ankle that's untapped by consumer electronics?
You're raising a great point. And so LLMs are compute intensive, right? These are large language models. They take up a lot of space. They need a lot of compute power. And a lot of these products that you're mentioning, like toys, for example, they have limited compute power. Um, and so deploying AI on consumer products is super challenging. That's where a technology called Edge AI comes in, where the so let's say if you have a chip or a processor on a device that's like
Yes.
running all these different actions on a consumer product. Um, there are now newer technologies to both compress the AI model as well as process the AI on the chip itself instead of sending all the data to the cloud because just taking the data, let's say you talk to the toy, for example, or the dog, and then you take this data, send it to the cloud for processing, bring it back, and then you
Mhm.
respond to the person. The latency is very high. And so
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're able to like respond quickly. And this is where Edge AI comes in. Edge AI means that you're taking the data and the compute is happening at the point of capture. It's closer to where the data is
Mhm.
being. So there are a lot of advancements that are happening. The other big advancement is small language models. Everybody's talking about large language models, but domain specific or purpose specific models. So instead of having an internet trained model, internet data trained model which knows everything, if you can figure out what is a specific application and just for that application, what model do I need and what kind of data do I need to train the model? So it's specific to the domain or the purpose for which it is built, then the AI model can be like small. So that's the other area where there is a lot of research and advancements happening. So Edge AI, small language models are like two technologies that will help us to bring AI applications to consumer products like that.
Do you think, or are you seeing something around there? Like, because your company is really fantastically look like in that sector of like, hey, we can work with hospitals, we can work with industries, we can work with supply chain when it comes to AI,
Yeah.
right? Are you
Yeah.
seeing a trend of consumer electronics with robotics? Or you're like, no, it's around untapped, and I think there needs to be something.
So robotics is an interesting field. It has evolved over many years. And as you will know, robotics was initially in factories, right?
Yeah.
Pick and place robots. You pick something, you place it in a bag. So it was mostly like repetitive tasks. Robots were able to do repetitive tasks. You program it to do one thing. The advancement that is happening in robotics now is to be able to interact or be able to navigate non-predictable environments. So when you say like applications for consumer applications, if you have a robot like Optimus to do something in your house, it has to learn by itself, almost like
Yeah.
a human being, and navigate unpredictable environment. There's a person coming in front of you, there's a child playing there, or something like that. So versus a factory setting where everything is inside a cage and robot is
Yeah.
just doing one task, just one specialized task. So this is where integration of AI and robotics is super cool, where AI now is able to, like robots are able to learn and there are more like digital tools available to simulate different situations, like NVIDIA Omniverse, for example. So you are like thinking of different scenarios, different contexts, training your robot in a digital sandbox, so to speak, before you bring it to a physical environment, before you do any physical prototyping. So yes, it's certainly like a very nascent and interesting and emerging field. And I think it'll take a decade or so before we see something in our homes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, the one thing that comes to my mind with these consumer electronic or toys is, pet rock.
Yeah.
I think that's hasn't happened yet for AI for toys. And I think
Mm,
when that happens, whichever that company is, they're in the money for sure.
yeah.
Because think about it, you can have kids learning. You can have kids learning alphabets or
Yeah.
I don't know, talk to that thing. I remember a Black Mirror episode as well, um, which had Miley Cyrus. I don't want to go dark, but there's a dark side of that. Shifting back to your career, so you have been. I want to have something about this, and you can probably help us. So with the current, and I've been asking multiple guests. So by the time this episode comes, probably things are different. But with the current economy where we are right now, it's November, we recently had elections, whatever, right? And the job market has been declining. We are seeing different, uh, well, less job posting, but also the job posting was down and unemployment and so forth.
Yeah.
Someone like yourself, and I will ask you why. Someone like yourself who has had not very, but you have a good suite of diverse. You have been a product manager, you have been a business operator, you have been a BD person, and now you're at the edge of something really creative new. A lot of people wish for that, to be in that space, to have that experience.
Mhm.
How did you navigate your career, John, that end you up in this space at the right place at the right time, where you're
Yeah.
now, working with AI? And everybody wants to do that. I know, like Thor Rock in my circle, they're like, "Oh, I want to work on AI," right? How do
Yeah.
you get yourself positioned?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of different things. There is no like one formula to, achieve your career aspirations. The two things that I would highlight is one is intentionality. Uh, Throughout my career, I have tried to identify what is it that I want in the next 5 years. Even
Mhm,
like now, I have a goal for the next 5 years. And at each season of my life, when I'm looking ahead and I'm like, okay, I want to achieve this in the next 5 years, I start like thinking about it, connecting with people in the space, upskilling myself, always scanning for the right opportunity. So that's one piece of it. And I can give examples of how I did that. The
mhm,
second piece is opportunities. Like I feel that when you put your heart out and you put your intention out and you put hard work into it, opportunities also open up. You could be working hard, studying, looking for a job, and yet not get an opportunity. So it's a combination of both. And I think this
mhm,
opportunity comes from people who believe in you, are willing to give you an opportunity. So I've been fortunate that all throughout my career, I had people who believed in me, who gave me opportunities. And so those two factors come into play. So just to give an example of, how I got into AI is that I started seeing opportunities for specifically for physical AI or edge AI. Everybody was talking about digital applications of AI, about LLMs, and everybody was chasing that fad. And I'm
mhm,
like, I was just one more person in this millions of people chasing the same one thing. I have to set myself apart a little bit. So, what is it? What is my own background? What is my company doing? And what is the opportunity that I can leverage my own background and help my company to grow? And so I realized that physical AI and edge AI were two fields that were growing. Not a lot of people were paying attention to it. So I started like upskilling myself in this space. I started taking courses. I just finished a course about designing and building AI products for MIT. Uh, and then also like pitching to my own team and in the sense my company about the opportunities in that space. And of course, my company also saw the opportunities as well. And, talking to potential clients who might benefit from this kind of um, technology, connecting with other thought leaders in the space as well. So I know a lot of people, uh, particularly in physical AI and edge AI, who are like leading thought leaders in the space. So this exchange of ideas, networking, upskilling, it has opened up opportunities for me, which would not have happened if there was an opportunity and I'm not prepared for it. So
yeah,
preparing yourself for the opportunity when the opportunity opens up. So first is knowing, what
mhm.
is it that you want to specialize in and focus on, and then getting prepared for that opportunity, and then jumping on it when the opportunity comes. Uh, both proactively and reactively, is how I think about it. Yeah.
Would you say like that's a very interesting, like I've never had any that like I've had, but not that constructive that people have put it together, like putting
Mm,
yourself out there doing that. Like people always say pick the first thing I always hear from everyone is pick a course, do a course. And I'm like, great, what's next? Do the course and then put that in your resume and then you apply job. I'm like, geez. But what you're saying is very different. People talk about networking, but you're saying this is how you do it. Put yourself out, more constructive. It's very important to be more constructive.
yeah.
So my follow-up question for that is those who have, so I know plenty of people in my circle who I worked with, I can just not name it, have been really badly impacted. And there's a huge number of people, like huge
Mm,
influx. What would you recommend then in terms of if you're trying to get into AI, what you should be doing? Because I have one friend of mine, or he did a software, he's a software engineer, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna do AI. So he picked a bunch of courses, did that, and he's not able to break into AI still, let alone the job. He's been getting interviews, but it's things
yeah.
going away. So what would you recommend someone who is going through that, who is really aggressively trying, but they're not able to get into AI?
Yeah. So the first thing is like I would not suggest like pursuing like the latest fad, right? There
Hmm.
is AI, there is cybersecurity, there is so many things that are hot in the market. There is, climate tech technologies. So what like the point is that just because everybody's talking about AI and you want to jump into the bandwagon, you'll be just one of millions of people trying to do the same thing and maybe not set yourself apart. You always want to play to your strengths. So I'm always thinking of, every time I think of the future or what I want next in my life, I'm also thinking of how I can leverage my past. So if
Hmm.
it's completely disconnected from my own experience in the past and what I have learned over the years, then it's a little bit harder to pivot to something new. So, and AI is the amazing thing about AI is it cuts across many different industries. You can be in, digital applications, you can be in physical applications, you can be in consumer health tech, industrial, whatever is your area of expertise is. So there is the positive thing about AI is it cuts across many different verticals, many different types of products. And so anybody can fit into that space. They can leverage their previous background and augment it with additional training to advance in their careers. So the first suggestion I have is don't just do AI just because it's the hottest thing or the latest thing. Do it because, you love it and because you see the value of that technology in a field that you love.
Hmm.
So that's how I think about it. As I shared earlier, I was not chasing LLMs and digital applications of AI just because everybody was
Yeah.
chasing it. I saw a very niche where nobody was focusing as much attention on, and I'm like, this could be super cool. It can change people's lives. It can, bring more revenue for my company. It can advance my career. So that's how I thought about what can I do next to advance in this space. So yeah, that's kind of my recommendation.
And
Yeah.
and one last question, then I move to the ending closing part. One last question is, I came across this conference. I'm not gonna name it. There's a speaker, and that speaker was talking about how there's gonna be no product management role. All of the roles will compress. There'll be one person doing it all.
Mm.
Um, that's a good anecdote. It's a good story, and that's my opinion. But I want to ask you, you're in because you're in a perfect space. I keep saying that because you're not working for a specific company. You're
Yeah.
working with multiple companies. So you probably have very different point of view, different perspective. You have the most different seat in the, if you think about like a stadium, you're probably in the box. And they're like, hey, I see what's going on there. Um, what do you
So
think in terms of like, is there disruption in roles?
in that specific role, product management role,
Product management, engineering, design that, oh, we don't need that much people because the engineer can do 10 people's job or
yeah.
PMs or I don't know.
Yeah, so the job market is certainly evolving because of AI and many other factors as well. So I have had the privilege of being a product leader in a product company, leading a startup, and now, as you mentioned, working with many different companies. And I think jobs will evolve and change, but we're not just going to lose jobs. I think every revolution that we have seen in our lifetime, be it the internet revolution was during our lifetime, the smartphone revolution was during our lifetime, the digital streaming revolution was during our lifetime. None of them have like taken away jobs. They, of course, take away some jobs or like change the jobs. And this is where people have to be adaptable. I think the greatest skill that we need in our generation is adaptability because technology is changing our life so quickly that you have to be able to adapt and persevere. So yeah, the main point though is that yes, jobs will be impacted, not in the sense that, oh, AI will take over my jobs now, or that I don't need a product manager anymore because somebody else can do it, or AI can do it, or whatever that combination looks like. I believe that jobs will evolve, and so we have to continue to upskill. We have to continue to just like any company, for example, right? AI could like disrupt companies, not just individual jobs. Think
Hmm.
about companies that are doing a certain thing and then now suddenly it gets automated. Uh,
Yeah.
and 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 Blockbuster was a big company and they didn't
Yeah.
adapt and they're not here anymore. So I think it's the same for human beings as well. If you don't adapt, you are not suitable anymore for the new environment. So I don't believe that, a lot of us will be like struggling with our jobs. I believe that our jobs will change, as is the case with companies as well. And so the openness to adapt is the key. Specifically with regard to like product development, product management, product design type roles, I think AI will play a huge role. And I think of AI as an aid, an assistant,
Yeah.
like I recently read, that 25% of coding at Google is happening with AI, but a lot of it is like autofill suggestions, right?
Yeah.
Or you can create a prompt saying, this is what I want to create, and it can give you ideas. So it's not taking away my job, it's making my job faster and easier. So instead of doing something in 10 hours, I can now do it in, let's say, 6 hours, right? Which means the expectation of me will also go up. My company will now start expecting me to produce 1.5x of what I was producing in the past. So it's not so much that so one is, of course, I need to adapt from a technical standpoint. Number two, I have to be prepared that I have to become more efficient now. The expectation that my company will have from me is not what it was in the past. It will expect me to produce more in lesser amount of time. So there will be a need for both hard skills, but also soft skills to be
Yeah.
able to navigate and emotionally navigate these kind of changes. Because the more the company expects from us, it creates more pressure for us. It creates, stress. How do you navigate both this need for a hard skill as well as soft skill to navigate
Mhm.
this new environment? So yeah, it's a season of change, like
Yeah.
many other seasons of our life. When you come out of college and looking for a new job, it's a complete transformation from who you were to, who you're becoming. I think it's the same thing. It's an advancement in our careers, now triggered by economy, by technology, and all of that, and the willingness to adapt and change. The winners will come out of it.
This is actually spot on. And I will say one thing. Personally, I found AI to be helping me with stuff I don't like. So
Yeah,
it's comes down to comms. Like I've written something, great. I don't want to spend another 10, 20 minutes proofreading it, right? So all of those things, but also in designing as well, like suggestions, building synthetic audience to review my design. So I'm doing that as well. And
yeah.
so I do agree with that. On last note, I know we're getting on time. I said closing.
Our time
Any
is flying
thought,
so fast.
anything that you would like to share, raw, like any raw suggestion that you may have, John, based on your career, what you have seen that you want to
Yeah,
be like, Imran, I think this could be a great takeaway for people.
yeah. Well, my suggestion is both for individuals as well as companies. And the main point, as you have seen that I've been sharing, is adaptability, right? Times are changing and it's moving fast. And the one who is able to adapt, both companies and individuals, is the one that will be successful. So for companies, it's riding on this wave and trying to figure out how can technology um, maybe either shape the existing product offering or maybe create new product offerings, create new markets. So there is a huge potential for companies that are any kind of company, product company, consulting company, any kind of industry to like reinvent what they're doing. I think of it in two boxes, now, new, and next. So you can take the existing product portfolio and enhance it and enhance the existing product offering. Or the next thing could be you can build something that is cutting edge, innovative in your industry, and create something new. Or you can really like completely like disrupt the market by creating something. This is what startups would do, right? There are a lot of companies that are using AI to come up with AI agent agentic based systems that are completely disrupting markets and will disrupt markets. So that's like the big disruption that will happen. And companies that are not already seeing the signals and adapting will, like many other companies, maybe not sustain themselves in the long term. That's one for companies. Also for individuals, I feel that we all also have to continue to adapt ourselves, right? Be it connecting with the right people, um, the right companies, having the right certifications to enhance our capabilities. It will be important for individuals also to upskill. And I believe that we are living in a world where AI systems, physical AI systems, all of this will interact with humans more than before. So realizing that, AI is not really like replacing me, it's part of my team now. So AI system, be it a robotic system or be it a digital system, whatever that system is, we have to think of it as a team member. Every advancement that has happened across around, along the generations is because people came together. It was never one individual being like super smart and doing something. It was like complementary skills coming together, different people from different backgrounds coming together and building something, right? So I believe that now we have to think about AI systems as another team member. How can I leverage AI to make my life better and easier, my better and easier, my company better and more efficient and more profitable? We have to think of AI as another partner in this ecosystem of
Dude,
creating new.
that is amazing. Like that's the real meat. I'm gonna actually cut it and put it up. It's so you took away all the nuances and you're like, look, A, B. That's it. Digest it. Now run, or walk, whatever people want to do with it. No, thank you, John, for joining me and giving me your time. It was a great conversation. I really learned a lot from you as well. And as well, I hope other people will also be learning a lot with this conversation we had about AI. And specifically, again, I will tell you, you sit in a different box of the stadium. So you're like, I see what's going on. It's a very different thing. Think about it. If I work in one company, I can only tell you from kind of a
Yeah,
narrow point of view versus someone who's like, oh, this is what's going around.
yeah,
Thank you,
that's what
John.
makes our job so fascinating. And thanks for the opportunity, Imran.
Thank you.